Yeah, what a privilege it is first of all, it's great to be in a Sweet 16, but to have it in New York, Madison Square Garden, where, you know, we all know as the mecca of basketball, not college, pro, anything. And so it's been a big thrill for us. We know that we're going to play a good team in Kansas State. It's been an incredible journey, especially this last month and a half, and yet we're playing some of our better basketball. We've kind of alternated between our offense and our defense, and sooner or later I'd like to put the two together. If we could ever have both working at the same time, I think we would be even a better team. And yet last weekend our defense kind of carried us, which a lot of times is needed in the NCAA tournament. So excited to be here, proud of my team and what they've accomplished so far, and yet have great respect for Jerome and what he's done at Kansas State and their basketball team.
Okay, once again, if you have a question for Coach Izzo, just raise your hand. We'll bring a microphone over to you and have you ready to go. We'll start here to my right in the middle, second row.
Thank you. Brennan Shabath from WDBM Sports. Tom, you mentioned getting the offense and defense working together. I'm wondering if there's one or two players maybe who you think can really orchestrate that and be the catalyst for that to happen in a game.
Well, I don't think there's any question it's AJ. I mean, your quarterback has to orchestrate, and he's done a much better job. I think last game we didn't shoot the ball really well, and I thought we had some decent shots. We just missed some shots, but over a conference season, we were a team that shot almost 40% from the three. So the sample size of 2 games, I don't think it's in anybody's head. We just didn't shoot it as well in those 2 games. And I think we'll shoot it better if we get our running game going. I think that'll help. I think this game will be up and down. I think they want to run, we want to run. And yet at the end of the day, you got to make shots, no matter who you are. And that helps you win. At the end of the day, though, the other thing that helps you is your defense travels. And over the years, it's helped me a lot.
We'll stay in the middle on the other side of the aisle. Yep, in the back there. Go ahead, raise your hand real quick just so we can see you. Go ahead.
Hi, Sean Windsor, Detroit Free Press. Tom, you've had some awfully good guards over the years, but can you recall a time when you've had 3 guards that play both ends of the floor like these 3 guys do?
It's been a while. I mean, I guess back in the day with Mateen and Charlie, and if you call Morris a guard, but he probably wasn't a guard, so you're probably right. But we got him to guard people, and we had 2 defenders that were off the charts. And at times now we have 3 guys that can really guard the ball. And yet, as you said, now that Jaden is starting to shoot it better, and AJ's shooting it better and distributing it better, I think I'd have to agree. I thought the best one I had maybe was a Gary Harris. He could guard you on one end and score it on the other. But I got 3 guys that, and Tyson's, can't be fooled by his size, just like they got a guard, you can't be fooled by his size either. But Tyson's a very good defender, probably doesn't get as much credit as he did at Northeastern, where he was Defensive Player of the Year, because he is a very good defender.
And we'll stay in the middle again, back on the other side of the aisle here in the third row.
Coach Izzo, Rob Collins from Fox 4 in Kansas City. You mentioned what Coach Tang has done in your opening statement. Just can you elaborate on that? He started with 2 players and then to get to where they are.
Well, he's used the transfer portal well, and it's worked pretty well for him. And I think the other thing, though, is you look at him, and this is taking nothing away from him, but he is an experienced, non-experienced head coach. I spent 12 or 13 years with Judd Heathcote, and that really helped prepare me. I remember Judd saying one time, would you rather take a smaller job and just so you can say you're the head coach, or would you rather prepare for Indiana and Michigan and Purdue every day, And I think that helped me. I think Scott Drew really helped Jerome, They built that program. They built it together, just like I built mine with my assistants over the years. If you watch them, I think he was given a lot of power, just like I was at the end. I think Scott had a lot of faith in Jerome, and so he had more than just suggestive power that sometimes assistants have. So I think he was, Roy Williams was born to take over a bigger job. Some people leave early and work their way up through the ranks. I think Bill Self did. Some people stay like I did or Jerome did and prepare yourself that way. I think he deserves a lot of credit. I think Scott Drew deserves a lot of credit. And I think it shows that we need our assistants. Assistants are more valuable than sometimes any of us give them. And I think he did a lot for that Baylor program, and that's why they had the success they had. And Scott allowed him to, and helped prepare him to be a head coach. And so I'm sure he's very grateful of that too.
We'll go right down here in front of me. Go ahead.
Alf Russo with the Associated Press, Tom. Talking about Tyson, there's so much kind of lore about these New York City point guards. Is there something that distinguishes New York City kids? Is there an attitude? Is there something about them that is notable?
Well, he's not from the heart of the city, but he does have that swagger about him. His is a little more, I think sometimes the New York swagger is a very cocky swagger, and sometimes that's good. He's kind of had the happy medium, he's got enough cockiness to be confident, and yet he's an unbelievable kid, and at his size, he wants to guard you, but he also wants to take big shots. He's the best two-way player I've had probably since Gary, where he can do it on both ends, and that's so valuable to a team, and so good to be able to tell other scorers that he can get you 30 on some nights, and he can shut down the other players. So I don't know if it is New York City. Unfortunately, I don't recruit enough out here, but Tyson would definitely give me a lot of reasons. He's been an unbelievable kid. I think he was humble. He came from Northeastern. He's appreciative. He gave one of the all-time great speeches after we got beat by Duke, and just how appreciative he was to be able to be on those kind of stages. And then this year, the stage is even bigger because it's Madison Square Garden. It's his home grounds, and it is the Sweet 16. So it's been fun to watch him grow, and hopefully he'll play well. I don't think he'll be nervous. He got me my pizza last night. I'm looking for the cab ride today.
We'll stay on this side, couple rows back.
Hey, Tom. Roger Rubin from New York Newsday. As far as Walker, being back in New York, has he communicated anything to you about a certain level of excitement with being here, a certain level of, people are going to come out to try to come see him? Has he, was New York something that was like a carrot dangled to him?
I just told him no girlfriends better show up around me. That's all I told him. But, he was excited. The joke about the pizza in the cab, I always tell my players, you help us win the first game and I'll get you through to the second and the weekend, because we've had some success on that over the years. And in between games last weekend, that's when I talked to him. This is a privilege and an honor, and it's something you should dream about when you were out shooting baskets outside, chance to play in Madison Square Garden, which growing up in New York, it's probably even bigger than it is growing up in the Midwest, because what the Garden is. I just like walking through the Garden and seeing the pictures, of all the great performers, the great boxers like Muhammad, and the things that have gone on here are incredible. So he was excited. He's not he's kind of a reserved kid. He gets excited. He gets angry sometimes, but he's a pretty reserved guy, and I just know it meant a lot to him. I know it meant a lot to his family. What a greater experience to, play Duke in Mike's last game, and then play against, Kansas State in his home ground, and in arguably the greatest arena in the world. Pretty cool for him.
We'll come to the other side over here. Yep. It's next to you. There you go.
Graham Couch, Lansing State Journal. Tom, you haven't played these guys since your first 2 years, and home and home series, I think. When you realized you were playing them, do you have any recollection of those 2 games, and you think about where your program was at those moments when you played them around Christmas in those first 2 years?
Yeah, I was mad at Judd. He scheduled those games. I think my first year I went to Kansas State, Oklahoma State. My schedule was off the charts because he got some home games at the end of his career, and then I was stuck with the aftermath of that. But I remember going down there, and it was a long time ago though, and I don't think it's going to have anything to do with tomorrow's game. I just think that I've been blessed to be in it long enough that I have memories like that. I can remember back to some of the teams we played and what we did. But as far as anything that's going to benefit me or make me fearful, not at all.
And we'll stay on that side. Yep, go ahead.
Hey, Tom. Adam Zagoria, New York Times. How you doing?
Good, Adam.
Both Tyson and Marquise Noel transferred up from low majors, mid majors, whatever you want to call them. What did you see in Tyson at Northeastern that made you think he could play at your level? And just what does it say about the college game in general now that these low major, mid major guys are moving up and making an impact?
Well, it's like everything else, they've earned their keep. He played there a couple of years. He played for a very good coach, and that was one of the things. And then when we got to know him and his family, he's a hell of a kid. He's a good student. He does the things the right way. He hangs his hat on his defense. It's almost un-American and illegal now, but he does it, and he's proud of it. And you just gotta love a kid like that. But he works. I think he's hungry too. I think some guys that are at this level all the time are transferring from this level. There's too much entitlement. He's not entitled, and I absolutely love that about him. He wasn't entitled at all, and if you could have heard his speech after the Duke game, it was kind of about that. It was, I dreamed of playing in places like this, in games like this, against the competition, and so he wasn't going to miss out on that opportunity, And I think that chip on your shoulder is really good. I still got a chip on my shoulder because of where I came from, and I think too many times those chips are taken off these kids when they're 10, 11, 12 years old, when they're changing AAU teams in high schools and junior highs and whatever else they do. He spoke highly of the place he was at. He spoke well of the coach. He just did all the things that I would appreciate anyway, and I've been lucky to have him, and I think every once in a while, when I'll say, hey, we're taking a bus trip to Chicago, and normally you fly. I said, for me, as a Division II guy, those bus trips were 8-9 hours, but I said, Ty, you've taken a few of those too, right? And we laugh about it. If you haven't done it, if you've been so spoiled and entitled that you've never done that, you wouldn't appreciate it as much. He appreciates things, and I appreciate him for that.
We're going to take one more question for Coach. We're going to go across the aisle, on the aisle.
Christian Arnold, AM New York. Coach, you kind of touched upon it before, the specialness and the uniqueness of this place. What does this place mean to you, and do you try and press upon your players outside of obviously, Tyson, who knows the area, about what the Madison Square Garden means to college basketball and being on the stage?
Yeah, I've always impressed. We played Kentucky here in the Tournament of Champions, and we played Duke here. I've set a lot of records here. Helped Mike set his record for the most wins. Unfortunately, those records were at my, you know what I'm saying, Adam? Yeah, expense, good word, I kind of a 4-letter word and under guy, so expense is a little more than that, but that's exactly right. It's, but there is the thrill of playing here. When you talk to, for us, the Steve Smiths and Magic Johnsons, there's nothing like the Mecca, there's nothing like Madison Square Garden. And so when we have the opportunity to play here, I always talk about it as a privilege. We get to play in a lot of great places, but it's not just college basketball either, as you know. It's basketball, period. Doesn't matter what it is. this place is known for it. And you know, I'm not saying I've had a lot of great success here, so this will be a good weekend to change that.